We have in the modern history of the church contrasting examples of men who were highly favored of the Lord. One, Hyrum Smith, remained totally faithful and committed even to the giving of his life, while the other, Oliver Cowdery, despite having witnessed some great things in the history of the Restoration, became blinded by his personal ambition and lost his exalted place in the leadership of the church. Oliver Cowdery shared with the prophet Joseph Smith many of the profound events of the Restoration, such as their baptism under the authority of John the Baptist, the conferral of the Aaronic priesthood, and the marvelous appearances in the Kirtland Temple, and, writing in his own pen, the entire Book of Mormon, save a few pages, as it fell from the lips of prophet Joseph Smith. No one except the prophet Joseph was more honored with the ministering of angels than Oliver Cowdery. But when the prophet Joseph fell upon hard times, Oliver was critical of him and estranged from him. Despite the efforts of the prophet to reach out the hand of fellowship to him, he became hostile to the prophet and the church and was excommunicated the 12th of April, 1838. A few years after the death of the prophet, Oliver repented and expressed interest in coming back to the church. In response, Brigham Young wrote on the 22nd of November, 1847, inviting him to return to our Father's house, from whence thou hast wandered, and renew thy testimony to the truth of the Book of Mormon. Oliver appeared before the high priest quorum and said, "Brethren, for a number of years I've been separated from you. I now desire to come back. I wish to come humbly and be one in your midst. I seek no station. I only wish to be identified with you. I am out of the church. I'm not a member of the church. I wish to become a member of the church again. I wish to come in at the door. I know the door. I have not come here to seek precedence. I come humbly and throw myself upon the decision of the body, knowing as I do that their decisions are right and should be obeyed." He also bore his testimony in these words, "Friends and brethren, my name is Cowdery, Oliver Cowdery. In the early history of this church, I stood identified with you. I handled with my hands the gold plates from which the Book of Mormon was translated. I also beheld the interpreters. That book is true. Sidney Rigdon did not write it. Mr. Spalding did not write it. I wrote it myself as it fell from the lips of the prophet." End of quote. Even though Oliver came back, he lost his exalted place in the church. In contrast, President Heber J. Grant said of Hyrum Smith, "There is no better example of an older brother's love than that exhibited in the life of Hyrum Smith for the prophet Joseph Smith. They were as united and as affectionate and as loving as mortal men could be. There was never one particle of jealousy in the heart of Hyrum Smith. No mortal man could have been more loyal, more true, more faithful in life or in death than was Hyrum Smith, the prophet of the living God. He responded to every need and request from his younger brother Joseph, who led the church and received the revelations which we have today. Hyrum was steadfast day to day, month by month, year in and year out. After their brother Alvin's death, Hyrum finished building the white frame home for their parents. After Joseph had received the golden plates, Hyrum provided the wooden box to store and protect them. When the plates had been translated, Joseph entrusted Hyrum with a printer's copy of the manuscript. Hyrum, often accompanied by Oliver Cowdery, carried pages to and from the typesetter daily. Hyrum worked as a farmer and laborer to support his family. But after the church was organized in 1830, he accepted the call to preside over the Colesville branch. He took his wife and family and went to live with the Newell Knight family, spending much of his time preaching the gospel wherever he could find anyone who would listen. Ever a good missionary, he not only preached near his home, but also went to the eastern seaboard and southward in the United States. In 1831, he went with John Murdoch to Missouri and back, preaching along the way. When the construction of the Kirtland Temple was envisioned in 1833, Hyrum immediately took his scythe and cleared the woods from the temple site and began digging the foundation. In 1834, when Zion's Camp was organized, Hyrum assisted Lyman White in recruiting members of the camp and led a group of saints from Michigan to Missouri. Being thus proved in the little things, Hyrum became an assistant president of the church in December of 1834. He served under the direction of his younger brother, the prophet Joseph. He was ever a source of strength and comfort to his brother, whether in church service or in the Liberty Jail. As persecutions came and Joseph fled the mob at Nauvoo in 1844, Hyrum went with him. As they stood on the bank of the river contemplating whether to return, Joseph turned to Hyrum and said, "You're the oldest. What shall we do? Let us go back and give ourselves up and see the thing out," Hyrum replied. They returned to Nauvoo and were taken to Carthage, where they died as martyrs within minutes of one another. Hyrum had been faithful to his trust, even to the laying down of his life. In all respects, he was a disciple of the Savior, but his day-to-day striving made him truly great. In contrast, Oliver Cowdery was great when handling the plates and being attended to by angels, but when called upon to faithfully endure day-to-day trials and challenges, Oliver faltered and fell away from the church. We do not prove our love for the Savior only by doing some great thing. If the prophet personally asked you to go on a mission to some strange and exotic place, would you go? You would probably make every effort to go. But what about paying tithing? What about doing your home teaching? We show our love for the Savior by doing the many small acts of faith, devotion, and kindness to others that define our character.